waking up for the umpteenth time, not dead, surrounded by everything I need to keep going. I had a little money. I had a liquor store. I had my pills. I had my substances all around me. And I'm like, I'm fully fucking alone.
Millie makes songs, hey, I made this one. Jerry builds bikes and they go real fast. They're mental defectives.
Welcome to the Mental Defectives podcast, a show where we interview interesting individuals with a focus on addiction and mental health. I'm your host, Milligram. That's Millie if you know me, Mr. Graham if you know me. Joined, as always, by the Homer Pile of Harleys.
Homer Pile?
From MASH,
Oh.
I think.
Okay.
No? Our producer is saying no. Joined by someone.
Anyway.
It's Jerry with a G.
Glad to be here, man.
And today...
Hold on. You should hit that like and subscribe button if you dig what we do.
Mental Defectives podcast on all your social media. Wherever you social media, Mental Defectives podcast, we're there. Because today we have a very special guest. She's a sober recovery professional, a mother, and a Harley rider. Don't mess with her because she does have her CCW. It's the one, the only, Rachel. Rachel, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Thank you for coming on.
Glad to be here.
Rachel, where are you from?
I'm from Columbus, Ohio.
Hell yeah. And when did you have the first drink?
9 or 10.
Okay.
Yeah. The only memory I have of that is it probably started with elementary school type stuff. I just remember that hole everybody talks about, that not comfortable in your own skin. I remember standing there. We had moved to Worthington briefly from Columbus. And I was standing there looking at like my about to be new middle school. And I don't know if it was fear, a mixture of fear, because that feeling was always there that something's wrong with me. And I didn't know what it was. And it stayed with me. It's still with me. It's smaller, but it's there. My mom had a boyfriend. I really liked this boyfriend at the time, someone she worked with. And I just remember when they would have drinks, he was this big Italian man. He was pretty happy all the time anyway, but like whenever he drank this certain drink, cheeks were red, he was lit up. I'm like, that's what I want. I want to feel like that. So I'd sneak down to the kitchen and I'd take a couple, 2, 3 to my room. And that's about it. I don't recall getting drunk until later, but definitely that's the first time I searched for something outside of myself.
And when did the first getting drunk and stuff, that kind of stuff start?
From the beginning, that was blackout, blackout status, immediate blackout artist. I would say it would have been my 15th birthday. I had dabbled around here and there, but kind of also, like we always talk about, found the kids that were like me, broken homes, maybe their parents weren't paying attention. Like a friend of mine recently said, free-range kids, our parents were not really paying attention. I'm not sure what they thought we were doing, but it's always some dark basement, always some mom that's busy doing something else other than paying attention to their kids. And we took full advantage of that. And I remember the basement. I remember a lot of smoke. And I remember that bottle. And it wasn't just the first drink. It was the first time I ever kissed a boy. And it was not the first time, but the second time with the drinking where I remember, this is something I don't want to do. This is something I feel like I have to do. Because I don't know if you'll like me if I don't. So it was that feeling of that needing to be welcomed, accepted, to fit in. It wasn't because I liked it, wanted to, but that feeling, it was like, ooh, that hole is kind of closed right now. But then I had to put more on top of it to deal with the shame and guilt of doing the things I didn't want to do.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we have the first drunk at 15, and then where does your drinking progress from there?
I would say I would continue to do that at home as often as possible. And my dad was on tour with a band. He had left us when I was young. So I had this need for him, but I always would make my way over to the street I grew up on. We had moved to Worthington, and I still had family on the street that I grew up on, and I still had a best friend over there. So again, going over there, we could basically do whatever we wanted. Like, my dad's cousins would be smoking pot in the basement, and for some reason, I just knew to gravitate towards that sort of thing. Like, they let it happen, and, like, I actually have this vague memory of sitting there on the old Nintendo thinking, like, I feel like I knew even then that was wrong. Like, this is not how it's supposed to be, but nobody's saying anything, so why not go with it? I just remember kind of like, I'm very observant. I overthink everything. Very logical, but emotional. So I think it was kind of like hurtful at the same time, feeling like that they did not care that we're smoking cigarettes, that they did not care we're smoking weed, and we're like 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, almost like no guidance. So yeah, it continued from there. I would say one of the instances where my mom was going through a breakup with the Italian man that I liked so much, and I didn't have my father. I really liked this man. It was like the only sense of normalcy we had, because he would take us on these little trips. Cincinnati, they both worked for the IRS, so we'd go to like Cincinnati and all these federal buildings.
Can you put in a good word with them for me before?
Right.
We got tax season around the corner.
Right.
Yeah, I might need that too. So yeah, like he would take us on these road trips, and we met his daughter. She was normal, and it was like, okay, cool. Some kind of normalcy. And he wasn't really like my stepfather, but it was like the only man in a long-term sense that I knew. My dad was always far away. And I just remember, you know, I'd send these letters to my dad. I think he was in Florida at the time. They'd get returned to sender, and that let down every time. Mm-hmm. So when he and my mom broke up, that was another letdown. I remember being like angry at my mom, because not only was she sad and depressed now, and I'm the caretaker, I was mad you ruined the only good thing we had. Like, I could see, like, and that's when I started to say, like, you're always calling my dad an asshole, but you're the reason he left. You know, my anger started there. Like, I would say between 12, 13, things like that. So, yeah, she was always in bed, depressed, not really providing. My sister and I had to basically fend for ourselves. My sister's being sent off. She's 2 years older than me. So at the same time as kind of like being vocal, not really. I wanted to stand up, but at the same time, I'm like afraid to get sent away if I do, because everybody's telling, like, she's a bad seed, she's this, she's that, you know. No, she's struggling, you know, but I didn't want to get sent away too. So I just kept my mouth shut, and I dealt with it my own way. I think from a very young age, I learned how to detach, dissociate, to go somewhere else in my mind, to be very imaginative. But also I ran away eventually. I think I was around 14 when I ran away the first time. My sister had this high school friend. Now, the last time I saw this girl, like, they're the popular girls, the popular crowd, someone I would have at the time wanted to be like older, more mature, you know, liked, little confidence, something like that. So she had been calling the house for my sister, and my sister was in whatever group home they sent her to. So me and this girl ended up on the phone a lot. And I started to open up to her about things I was going through at home. She got in my head and convinced me to run away and go to Florida. And I'm like 14.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, all right, let's go. You know, I don't know where I got, I don't know where I got it in me, because I'm like, not at the time. I felt like a little kid still, so I don't know where that came from.
I mean, 14 is a little kid.
It is, you know, and that's why
yeah.
I say, like, with the whole drinking and the smoking, I felt that way inside for a long time. Like, kissing a boy, I felt like a very young kid, like, probably younger than I actually was. I always, Barbies still, bikes, like, still pretending putting the pop cans in my spokes, pretending I'm on a Harley. Just, I have this imagination, so I feel like I'm a kid. And I run away. Next thing I know, I'm in Florida, and it's not what she described at all. She looks different. Immediate fear. and like, oh crap, what did I do? So it starts, and I also feel like, okay, somebody should notice I'm gone by now. But I'm scared. I know I'm in trouble and I'm scared. I somehow made it to Florida. A bus ticket. I think it was a Greyhound. So those take like 3 days to get to Florida, maybe more. And then I get there and I'm like, oh, this is not at all what she described, at all. So a lot of bad things happened. I remember kind of calling. I think I called my dad, something. I was still afraid. It ended up to be that this girl was very strung out herself. She was not the same person I last saw. She did not have her life together like she said she did.
I mean, she's convincing a 14-year-old to run away from home and come to Florida. I can't imagine she's really got it together.
Not at all. There was no red flags there. 'Cause I don't think I had the capability to, put that together at the time. Very broken. I just wanted something better than my situation, I think. And I went, and she tried to sell me, basically. She molested me. She did things to where it made it hard for me to trust a woman again. And I'm like, okay. But again, there's that, I know this is wrong. Like, I'm still innocent. That's not okay. You're not going to put a price on me. Like, there's no way. But it's that feeling of, wow, what is wrong with me? That I'm just not good enough, that this person views me as less than, that they can put a price on me and try to give me to some old, gross man. Of course, I'm 14. All men are old and gross to me. Luckily, this man wasn't as gross, thank God, because there are men like that. And I think that's one of the times where I look back and say, he was there for me. My higher power was right there, even though I didn't know him at the time. I was able to scream and fight and start crying and say, I'm 14. And he called the cops.
Damn.
Thank God.
That's lucky.
Yeah. Like, because I know that's not how it turns out for a lot of people. So she got mad, very mad, because I ruined opportunity for her to make money. And that's the first time I'd ever been in a physical altercation with like fists. And like, I'm like, no, I'm standing up for myself. Like, you gross bitch. Like, we're not like, so I beat the shit out of her. I beat the dog shit out of her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I got to go home. The police took me to the station. They gave me some clothes to cover up. She had dressed me in these disturbing clothes. They got me dressed and they called my parents. And I feel like I was in trouble. Probably for the running away part, I would think. But there was no repercussions for this, for her. I don't know what happened to her after that. I don't necessarily not care, but don't really care either. But nothing really changed at home. My mom ended up meeting a new guy. I forgot to mention, while in Florida, I remember seeing her putting these substances up her nose. So I had dabbled. I didn't necessarily fall in love with it at the time or know what it was, but it kind of goes back to that. I don't even know what I'm putting in my body. Like, I was just willing to do basically anything to not feel, to not accept, well, this is the situation I'm in, so I might as well somehow get through it. But there's a limit at the time still. I had limits and knew right from wrong to an extent. So go home, tail between legs, probably in big trouble. Don't remember too much happening from that. Don't really remember Dad stepping in much. I think he did a little bit and then was gone again. So 15, drunk, that happens. I'm still coping my own way. Boyfriend leaves my mom finally for good. She's sad, depressed all the time. Getting ready to go into high school. So I remember the night that I became extremely blackout drunk and lost my virginity. I remember going home and crying because I didn't like it. It was one of those things I thought I had to do to get a boy to like me. And then I felt gross. I felt like I gave a piece of myself away that I wasn't ready to give away. And it just stuck with me. I remember like crying, and I'm laying in my bed with like dolls and flowers. Still a kid. 15 years old. I wasn't ready. I wasn't prepared. I wasn't educated. So my mom must have, not sure if she was maybe one of the times out of her depression, she ends up in my room, and as a woman, she just knew why I was crying. And she said, "Oh, honey, I should have talked to you." Yes, you should have. So I think like she started to see a little bit like, okay, I've been neglecting her. She's like going into womanhood. I've been neglecting a little bit. So I think we got a little bit closer through that for a brief moment. So that's also around the time we get our licenses. Like I get my first job. So things were somewhat getting back to normal. I'm in 9th grade. I'm trying. But there's also that element of, well, I have attention deficit disorder growing up. I've already been medicated for that with certain things that messed me up, did things to me that I didn't like. I'd end up crying at the end of the day. But there's that, okay, I need medicine now. Like something's wrong with me again. So it's just that constant wheels turning of what is it? What's wrong with me? Why do I need medication? Why does no one this, that, or the other? Why? Just why all the time. High school doesn't go very smoothly for me. I try, but it's like, I can remember that feeling of like, even if I thought I knew the answer to something, I would never say it because I'm like, what if I'm wrong? Like I can still feel that anxiety today sometimes, that feeling of I don't even want to try because if I fail, it was overwhelming back then. I can't put it into words how bad it was for me.
The Mental Defectives podcast is brought to you by Milligram's new EP, More is Always Better. 6 electrifying tracks available on all streaming platforms.
So going forward, I would cope by going to those Friday night football games. And for a while, I had not been with any other boy. I realized that first boyfriend that I had lost my virginity to was definitely not the boyfriend that I would have hoped. Shocker.
Yeah, right.
Oh no. So yeah, he was like sleeping with all my friends, things like that. And I'm just like, oh. So eventually I finally am like, all right, just let it go. Like as much as I'm a sensitive person and I wanted to hold on because I'm like, I already gave you that. Like, don't go. Like, don't do that. But I accepted it eventually as what it was. And I did not do that again for a good while. Almost, I would say 10th grade. But I found myself in a position where I let myself be used by another high school boy. And I'm not sure where that came from because I remember like that feeling of being hidden, being a secret, being not good enough again. Like he has a girlfriend, so I have to take accountability for that. Like, but I keep in my little girl mind hoping, well, he's just going to see how I'm the one, not her. Like she doesn't give him what he needs. That's why they're just together for like, you know, show because they're prom king, prom queen. And I'm just doing everything I can to not face the truth that he's using me fully. So only calling me after midnight, only calling me to sneak in, things like that. It hurt. Of course it hurt. But I let it happen because I had no self-esteem and no confidence. So after that, when I really was like, okay, that's enough. Like, I'm drinking to do this every Friday night, football games. I'm seeing this person there who doesn't even look at me, doesn't acknowledge my existence. So I drink and do whatever I can to cover those feelings up, the feelings of inadequacy. So going into 10th grade, I got fed up with all that stuff, and I decided I knew it was best for my life, that I had a job and I could take care of myself anyway. So I dropped out. But as I look back, I just got my transcripts about a year ago. My mom signed me out. Somehow I was able to manipulate her and say, all right, this is just not for me. I'd rather hang out with my friends and I have a job. I'll get my GED or go to the Army. That was the plan. It was the only plan I had, and it didn't go that well. But I mean, that's what I truly thought at the time. And it's unfortunate that I didn't have anybody say no. Like, no, I'm not signing you out of school. Like, I'll help you if you're struggling. I didn't though. So as it goes, I dropped out, and that's it. Around 17, I had started dating one of my best friend's brothers, but I was a little more cautious at this time. I was a little more closed off. But I also failed to mention that my mom had started dating a new guy after. He gave me the heebie-jeebies immediately. And I don't know why I couldn't put my finger on it, but he just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And I feel like because I'm starting to be a little unruly or just wanting to drop out, things like that, that my mom didn't take anything I said seriously. She didn't really go with my concerns. She went with how she felt. This man had a little bit of money. He was in the program like her. And, I'm just a ungrateful teenager. So she did not take anything I said seriously. And eventually I started finding evidence of these creepy feelings, and I would try to bring it up. Nobody would listen. I remember trying to call my dad, and he's far away still. I'm like, can I move in with you? No. Well, okay. So I start to suffer in silence. I went to my mom. I said, Mom, what is this? I'm finding these things, and it's, a crack pipe here, crack pipe there, a pill here, a pill there, alcohol bottles. And I remember even back before I knew what a program was, I knew both of my parents were in a program. I knew they were in these rooms. I grew up in these rooms. To me, they were mostly happy memories. So I knew, like, by watching and being observant, like, this isn't what people do if they're seriously doing those things.
Yeah, you're not going to be finding crack pipes.
Right.
No, he's a fraud.
Yeah.
He's a fraud. Like, and a monster. Like, who talks to a young girl that way when their mom's not looking? I always had a trouble with waking up on time, so this must have been before I dropped out of school. And shortly before I ran away for the second time. So, yeah, he just, he treated me like shit, and no one helped. So that kind of just solidified, okay, you're a piece of shit. Nobody's helping you. There was a time I was working for him. He had this smoothie stand. He made decent money. He always had wads of cash around, so everybody that worked for him knew you better get paid at a certain time of day. Everybody knew that, like, you better get the money before he disappears. Because once that weekend's up, the Comfest or whatever the case, you won't see him for a couple days, and you won't see your money. So there was a time where I invited one of my friends to come work, and I said, I had been a little disrespectful because he treated me like shit. So I started to become a little more standing up for myself. He had thrown piss on me. He had done all kinds of weird stuff to me. Yeah. So working with my friend, I'm like, please just pay my friend. Like, don't embarrass me. Oh, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he doesn't pay either one of us. And I'm trying to tell my friend, I'm so sorry. Oh my God. Like, we just worked like all day in the heat, and we're expecting to be paid and go shopping, go be teenagers, and he doesn't pay either one of us. So I said something, and next thing I know, I feel like, I don't even know, like I got hit in the face with a brick, but it was just, he punched me. I'm like 16, 17 years old. That's the first time I've ever been cold cocked, like, ever. Like, so I think that was my limit, because I remember I blacked out. That was the first time I blacked out in pure anger. And shock, I assume. Trauma, shock. Yeah. My lip was actually hanging off my face. I just remember seeing blood, and it was a whole thing. The cops were everywhere. It was like, he went to jail, thank God. And then I expected, okay, well, he's been doing this. Like, he's spit on me. He's pissed on me. He hits me at home. Maybe not that hard, but he hit me hard enough that police now notice. And I beat the shit out of him, too. It took apparently 8 cops to pull me off of him. But I was a child. I was a 16-year-old child, 16, 17-year-old child. So that was the first time I've had any violent altercation where I actually stood up for myself. But that impact, I think that was that first impact of trauma where physical trauma connected that I need to protect myself from other people. But I started to also not care about myself as much. So everything that's happened that I've said is like starting to make me accept less and less from other people. So I go on for a while. It calms down, but my mom seems to be very resentful at me for putting her boyfriend in jail. It's like her meal ticket. And it's like, well, you can't not believe me now. Like, it was red, white, and boom. Millions of people saw it happen. Now, who's the liar? Okay. So I kind of felt a little more confident in that regard. The police got involved. They called my dad, and they kind of made him take me. He's back in Columbus at this point, and they kind of said, oh, she can't go home. There's domestic violence. But by this time, I'm angry. I am full-blown angry. Like, nobody's protected me, this and that. I'm disgusted that it's been put up with for so long, and my dad never came to my rescue, so I'm not surely going to listen to him. And then I had also started dating this boy that was my best friend's brother, and I wasn't opening up about anything. I was embarrassed. I wanted to be some sense of normalcy, and like I could see other people had these normal lives, these normal families. I'd see how happy their family was. I did not want them to know what was going on in my house.
Sure.
Of course not. So I didn't explain why I was so angry, jealous, insecure, so many things. So a lot of this stuff got taken out on him, and he was a genuinely good dude. I was very young as well. I had no concept of love or what it's supposed to look like. I'd never been loved correctly, let alone by my own parents. So I have no idea how to receive love or how to give love. I did my best at 17. But unfortunately, there were times where I'd become angry and I'd put my hands on him. And I remember one time I actually gave him a black eye. And I think that's when it sunk in that like, oh, not really. I already knew something's wrong with me. Why am I putting hands on someone I love, that I say I love? And I just gave this man a black eye. And I kind of felt defeated again. Like, he didn't deserve that. Nobody does. Like, and I remember the look of like sadness and disappointment on his face. And he stayed with me after that. Like, he covered for me. And I'm just like, oh, like embarrassed. Like, oh. So I think that was the only time that happened. But there were times where I definitely lost my temper and was like yelling, screaming, afraid he was cheating, afraid just all kinds of things. I was very insecure. I was bringing up women that girls in high school he did. Like, I was so delusionally just jealous of everything because I didn't feel good enough. So his family started to pick up on that, and they didn't like it very much. And slowly, the best friendship between me and his sister kind of faded. She kind of stayed a friend, but not as much as before. So that was just like, that kind of went on for a while. I lived with my dad and my mom on and off, and that kind of abuse, but all in the background. I never even told them. Like, I think they kind of knew I had a problem and I didn't. Like, I'm partying. I'm a teenager. 'Cause me and this boyfriend, he was a little older than me. I was 17. He was 19. So he was always about 2.5 years older than me. He'd been graduated from high school and had some older friends, and the apartment was the place to go to smoke and drink. But I was the only one still going and searching for the next one. Everybody's falling asleep. Everybody's done. Everybody's got to work in the morning. I'm the one with no goals, no future, no anything but that next one. And someone had said, don't you think she drinks like a fish? And I'm like, I'm just having a good time, just didn't get it. And there was other things going on that they didn't know, that I'm still drinking at home by myself at 17. Like, I have bottles hidden in my dad's house, and he's in a program. So I'm hiding them from him so he doesn't know, because I know he's not going to approve. And I don't want to hear anything he has to say. So just, yeah, not really respecting my dad, sneaking out, things like that. Eventually, the boyfriend says to me, I'm afraid to have kids with you. Like, I love you, but I'm afraid to have kids with you. You're violent. And worse when I'm drunk, I'm sure. So that actually stuck with me until a couple years ago. I purposely never had kids. Like, I do now, I have a child, but I was afraid to have kids for that reason. I thought, am I so damaged that I should not pass this on, whatever this is? Like, I'm going to infect another child with it. So I internalized a lot of things, but also I want to talk about some eating disorders like I developed. I was always a bigger girl, tall, 5'9.5", and always bigger. My boyfriend and his friends, they kind of made fun of me a little bit, like mostly his friends, and I think maybe the boyfriend did it to look cool in front of his friends, but like, they kind of made fun of me, so they don't know that I was like, I know my sister can get that one stuff that makes you skinny, so I'm gonna go ahead and snort that too. And they don't know I'm doing that at 17, 18, 19. I think around 19, I got way worse because I had found like a new group of friends, like, well, old group of friends, whatever. I'm starting to like grow up, and realize like, I don't like to be told what to do. Like, he's older than me. He wants this family stuff. Like, I'm cool. Like, I don't want that right now. Like, I think I loved him, but not enough that I'm like ready to settle down and be somebody's wife. I don't know what I'm doing. So it's like I didn't want him to move on, but I had stuff to do. I had partying left to do. So I'd be over doing my thing with my friends, and he'd get jealous and upset, and I'd get mad, and how dare you tell me what to do? Because at this point, nobody can tell me what to do. I've got it all figured out. And eventually, like, you know, that doesn't really work because that's all I'm doing is partying, drinking, smoking, snorting something. Mm-hmm. But I'm hiding it from the people I don't want to see it. So I obviously know it's a little bit of a problem that most people don't still do that at 4 a.m. And then eventually, like, I won't get into too many details, but certain other things happened. And I would say when he did leave me, finally, I remember that feeling of when enough was enough. Excuse me.
He just wasn't on board anymore with the... And that's a lot. That's saying a lot for like a... You know, what if the guy's like 20 or 21 at the time to be like, no, this is too much like drinking and partying for me. As a,
yeah,
you know what
for
I'm saying?
sure.
It's like one thing if you're like older, but for like a 21-year-old to be like, you're partying and drinking too much for me. Yeah. That's always a good indicator.
Like, one of the friends was an OU student. Like, does that say anything?
Right.
Like, damn, girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And also, I think it was like, I had met someone else that was closer to my age. Well, actually, he was younger than me. So, I knew I could drink and use the way I wanted to over at this person's house. And plus, I hadn't done anything. Like, I had been drinking and using, but I had, like, not been to a concert. I had not been really anywhere besides ran away to Florida twice so far by then. Neither time worked out well, by the way. So I think that was another one. I had ran off to Florida when I was with him. And then I'm doing all this erratic, crazy stuff. And I think it just became too much. Like, I broke up with him the first time when I was about 19. And I think that's just because I wanted to drink and use and experience life. Like I said, never been to a concert or a show or anything. And I started to, like, realize, like, I needed to have some fun. Like, I'll settle down with you, but I'm going to go do this first. Let me get this out of my system type thing. And I honestly thought, oh, he loves me. He'll wait for me. Like, I don't know if I like really thought that. Like, did I actually think that? So I'm sure I hurt him. I know I did. Because, to be fair, I've never cheated on anyone because I find that not okay. But I did move on probably before I have that deep thing in there, like, he's not going to care. Like, I really, truly didn't think he'd care if I started moving on because we were broke up. I did not truly believe he would be hurt by it. But he was. And then I remember, like, my best friend calling me and saying, dude, he knows. Like, she had to, this man's like 23 or 4, and she had to call this man's dad to pick him off the floor. And I was like, what? Like, I was genuinely shocked he was heartbroken. And I'm like, dude. And she said, that's what I said, dude. Like, I was just like shocked that he cared. That, still he took me back after that. And I mean, I had living to do, in my opinion. We didn't ever get the same after that, like, ever, because I was still doing the same shit. Like, I didn't talk to any other guys or anything like that. I never cheated on him. I just moved on thinking he wouldn't care. But, like, I don't think he ever let that go, and that's okay. I had already punched him in the face. I had already, like, moved on early. And I think in his mind, it's like, okay, do I really want to settle down with this person that's, like, this crazy? Like, no, probably not. So honestly, I'm surprised he stayed around as long as he did. But around 2021, I'm already in the bars, in and out of the bars, staying out really late. I'm just doing wild stuff. And I have my own car, and I definitely have drove drunk several times at this point. And I didn't live very far. Like, his house and my mom's house were one street over. I probably could have... I insisted on driving because I drive better. Like, what?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, I think eventually I was at his grandparents' house, and I still, like, vaguely remember the day where he had had enough. I had seen his car drive away. He pulled up for something. And I just remember that, like, almost like it was yesterday, seeing his car go away and just knowing he was done. Like, I was like, oh, like, I fucked up. Like, I don't know, just that, damn, like, he's leaving too. Shocker. Internalizing it, that it couldn't be me. There was no relief there for a while. I remember I went and I got a job at the bar, and it was... all the stuff that had built up, the runaways, the home life, the abuse, the abandonment, the being used and abused, it added up in that moment. It, like, I think it just kind of came to a head. And I don't remember drawing a sober breath for about 10 years. I ran away to Florida for a third time. I don't know what it is about Florida because I mean, I think I just had this notion. I didn't get very good advice either. Like, my mom was like, well, you're pretty, you know, you'll meet somebody and they'll take care of you. Like, go to West Palm Beach. So I'm like, yeah, I've never been there. I've always gone to, like, Fort Lauderdale or something. So West Palm Beach it is. And she gives me, and I think that this time, you know, I played on her guilt for what she allowed to happen to me I really did. Can I have your credit card? And I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to rent a car, and I'm going to go and I'm going to meet someone to take care of me. Whatever. I don't know what the logic was, but I didn't work out.
You got the credit card and you're in West Palm Beach, so you're 2 for 2. So.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm stopping along the way, Tennessee, West Virginia. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, but all the while, I had just manipulated a doctor who was like probably like a podiatrist or something. And I had talked him into writing me 90 Valium, 90 Xanax, and like 90 Klonopin, like 3 different types of those and Percocets and something else. So I'm like, cool, thanks, and hit the road.
That's got to be the most crooked podiatrist, like a foot doctor. You would have to have both
Right.
of your feet, like, they would amputate them before they gave you that many drugs.
Yeah. So, and yeah, there's nothing like I have such bad anxiety, so I need all of the categories, not just the one. So I think that's when my benzo addiction took off. And it didn't stop probably for the next, until 2 years ago. So I remember I would mix that with alcohol. And I didn't know shit about opiates at all. I knew nothing. I knew they make you itch, but I never had done them in excess to notice the withdrawal ever. I just used them at that point, as it always went with alcohol. Always. That was always right there. So, I have not admitted I was an alcoholic until 2 years ago either, because that was never my problem. It was always, you're my problem. Just leave me alone. That's not my problem.
Not my 19 scripts of benzos and drinking every day.
Right.
And it's...
If you would just leave me alone. And I also didn't think about any of the legal consequences that I picked up, like cars getting towed, and what was more important, I need this, so I'm not going to go get that car. Someone will take me. Someone else will take care of it. It became this entitled little bitch attitude. Oh my God. You owed me for my pain. And I ran with that too. So Florida did not work out. I ended up meeting another guy who lied about not having a girlfriend after he asked me to move in with him. Shocker. He wasn't a good guy after 2 days of knowing him. Shocker. So I destroyed his house. I don't remember what I did, but I destroyed his house. And that's when I realized I think I'll add pain into the equation. I already have an eating disorder, alcoholism, and drug addiction. Now let's add pain into the equation. I started getting shitty tattoos for no reason. Didn't even think about it. Sure, just give me a tattoo. I broke a bottle in his house after, and I remember this was my final fuck you to him. Well, maybe he'll find me, and he'll have to realize his mistake. This is going to be my payback. I'm going to destroy his house and slit my wrist in his house. So I took a bottle that he had been saving for something. It was one of those big, thick glass bottles of alcohol that the whole time, I think the whole 3 weeks I had known him, I knew that we weren't supposed to drink that one. So I'm I'll drink that one with my whole bottle of benzos. That's a recipe for disaster. But I blacked out, and whatever I did in the blackout, I heard about couple days later when I woke up pink slipped in a hospital in Florida. And the car had been towed because I had not updated the credit card information. So my mom's credit card is probably maxed out at this point. And I'm not calling home. I'm not letting anybody know I'm alive. I'm just doing what Rachel wants to do. And I'm still, this is not my fault. Poor me. I'm in the hospital. I remember still kind of see the counter, and I'm stumbling up there in a fog, head hurting like crazy, bandages all over. What happened? Okay, well, now I can feel withdrawal for the first time. They had taken my medicine. They had found it all, what I didn't take on the way there and in the home. I'm oh no, all right, I'm going home. So at this point, I call my dad. And this is the first time I had, I didn't realize this until recently either, that this is what people in the program do. My dad had people that flew me home and put their arms around me. I didn't stay there. I didn't realize it at the time because I wanted people to leave me alone, and I wasn't done. Thanks for the plane ticket home was the attitude. Leave me alone. I'm not done. So right back at it. Still empty and 10 times worse than before. So I go right back up to what I was doing in the neighborhood I was doing it and start bartending. And, you know, I still see pictures of myself back then where I always had bracelets on. I always had something to cover where I was cutting myself. And always was trying to, like, I would joke about it. There's no cure for inner pain like a heavy dose of outer pain. And I would be putting my fist through things. I was, I'm sure, a turnoff. Like, I wanted attention, but at the same time, get away from me. Don't get too close. Because I will thoroughly repel you, like, with being unladylike, being vulgar, being trashy, whatever, because I needed people, but I needed to be alone. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like the like the one is too many, thousands never enough. It's like I want two completely opposite
like
things
you-
at the same time.
You want to be the best and worst in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. And I always had to, like, make a scene, but it was, like, not a good one. Like, I see pictures back then, I'm like, oh, I just want to hug her. Oh, you know, I just, So I see bracelets, bandages, things like that, and dead eyes in everyone. Sad, forced to smile. And at this time, I'm doing, like, promotional stuff for the Blitz radio station. The Hummer Girls were out at the time. I'm like, okay, cool. I'd done some modeling here and there when my mom was like, you know, you're so pretty. Like, I'll pay for this modeling stuff. She's still guiltily helping me and letting me live with her. And I'm like, cool. I get paid to be pretty and bartend at night. But there's nights I go in and they're like, we're not letting you work tonight. Don't you know what you did last night? No. Psh, what do you mean I'm not I work here. What do you mean I can't come in? Like, go look in the bathroom or go look at the camera. Go look at this. I'm like, psh, really? Like, nobody cares. It's a bar. It's not like Wall Street. You know, I just didn't think it mattered. Like, I'm like, have you seen the crowd? Who cares? Like, I'm always in the dive bar, the hole in the wall, like, where I could do the most damage to myself and don't think anybody would notice. But still somehow get away with it. But there were nights I just did too much. And there was always the other side dishes in the background to keep me able to drink longer. We all know what that is. And I still had, as soon as I got back from Florida, got a hold of that doctor and started having him write me more of those things. So I know most normal people never smoke crack a day in their life, but I'm like, well, I wonder what that's like. So sure, let's add that to the equation. And then I move in with my sister briefly, and I'm like, sure, meth is great too. Because that keeps me really skinny, and plus I have energy, and next thing you know, the house is dirty. We have like 13 cats. It's a bad scene. And then, like, I go to the bar. I'm skinny as hell. And, like, people that actually once would fuck with me are like, I'm not doing promotions for any... They don't want to take my picture next to anything. Like, I look a mess, and I'm the only one who doesn't know.
Yeah.
And they're kind of looking at me like they feel sorry for me at this point. Like, I'm not eating. I'm not probably drinking water. I'm not doing anything. I'm smoking crack when I can't find cocaine, snorting Percocets and Xanax, and drinking, smoking weed. And then one night at the bar, I see somebody who looks like they don't feel shit. And I gravitated to him immediately, not for any other reason. Like, he was not handsome. It wasn't anything other than, what are you on? Because I want that. Like, and it was like, I thought it was bad before. No. And of course there was no education. It was just, will it help me? Can I stop noticing all this stuff? Like, I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to be awake. And if I have to be awake, I have to be faded. I have to be on something, because I cannot live in my own skin. It's too much. And I can't face all this stuff. So whatever it was, I took it, and it ended up being heroin, and I did not ask any questions. He did not mention anything about withdrawal. I didn't know anything about it. Like, I'd only ever seen it in like a movie.
The Minnesota Defectives podcast is brought to you by Ride Sober, an online community for sober bikers.
At RideXSober on social media and RideXSober.com.
Check them out today for apparel like t-shirts, hoodies, hats, riding gloves, and garage banners.
Ride sober, boldly sober.
Boldly sober.
So the second time, he was like, well, you're not going to waste my stuff. If you want it again, you have to shoot it up. I don't know if he expected resistance, but sure, you got to do it. I don't know how. Because that's how much I cared about my body, myself. I wanted to die eventually. And I think I had been slowly trying to die with the cutting and the things. And I'm like, this is too much. Like, being alive is too much. And not only that, but I had no goals, no direction. Like, there were times I woke up looking out the window, like, knowing the world's going on without me. Like, knowing that I've just spent a decade doing nothing in my mom's attic or my dad's attic or whatever. I'm doing nothing. I have nothing. My car's been taken. I have, like, domestic violence charges that, like, tickets here and there, like, little consequences. Until the heroin, I had never had, like, big consequences. So I overdosed in my mom's house. And when she found me and called the paramedics, I was mad at her. I was like, why'd you call the cops? Like, you
snitch.
Yeah, you bitch. So I remember, like trying to hurry up and hide my shit, because I went balls to the wall, like, ditched the dude, took his dealer. Like, I don't need you. I know what I'm doing now. Thanks for the education. Because the first time was like, everybody who's done it knows. It's like I won't advertise how great the first time feels. Mm-hmm. The first time. You'll never feel it again. So it was anything I could do, and I will run you over to not feel sick. And that's all it was. That's all it was for the next quite a few years, was not to be sick. And I made sure I wasn't. I did whatever I had to do to not be dope sick ever. So the cops come, and I'm denying that I need Narcan or anything, because that's not what happened. I'm tired. Just wore out. So I'm trying to hide my stuff. They catch me, and luckily, like, I got the other one. Like, they only got what they saw me with. So they didn't take me to jail that night, which maybe they should have, but they didn't. I was in my own home. And they just kind of put one of those future indictment things, and I forgot about it. I just kept going. 2013-ish, the indictment comes back for possession, and I had forgot. I'm like, but at this point, I've also been praying a little bit, like, and not just that, oh, get me out of this one, but, like, kind of asking if there's any kind of greater purpose for me, because why do I keep waking up in the morning? Like, what is this all for? Like, my life has been nothing. Like, what's going on? Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't know. I'm afraid to live. I'm afraid to die. I'm afraid to face this. How can I possibly start over from here? Like, have I really destroyed myself beyond... I can't believe I thought that. Like, I thought I was so broken. I really did. I thought that there was no coming back. So I had been praying here and there, like, you know, if you have a purpose for me, kind of show me. Otherwise, just please let me die, because I can't take this shit anymore. I don't know what happened. I mean, I went to court for this future indictment and met a lovely attorney, a public defender, who offered me a chance to save my life. And I looked at her and said, no. No thanks.
I'm good.
No thanks. I'm cool.
It's exactly how it went down.
Yeah.
I went home and I got high. I went home and got high and drank. And I was like, what the... Like, no, seriously, Rachel, what is wrong with you? Like, she literally just offered you a get out of jail free card. Like, But in order to do that, I had to feel something.
Yeah.
I would have to go to jail for 9 days and feel that for the first time. So I was like, oh my God, you got to be tougher than this. Like, you really want to stop? Like, so that little seed might have been planted around that time. I had to stop or I was going to jail either way. So it was kind of the threat of that. I didn't want to stop. I didn't want to be caught, though. I didn't know it was a crime to be an addict in your own home. Like, I'm just like, leave me alone. Like, I'm not bothering you. Like, you already have my car. I don't drive. Like, I'm really not bothering anybody. So leave me alone. Like, I was angry at any probation officers, judges, lawyers, anybody who wouldn't just leave me the hell alone. Because I'm not bothering you. And my mom had become my victim. She had become somebody who, if she did not give me what I needed, did not let me do what I wanted, I would remind her of all the pain she put me through, how many times she let that man beat me, spit on me. I just tortured her. And she was afraid of me. I'm sure of it. So I went in the next day and I said, oh God, I really have to do this. Like, I'm scared. Like, and I'm crying. For the first time in probably 15 years, I'm crying real tears. But it was just because I'm scared. I'm scared. Like, this sucks. I don't want to go to jail. I've never actually been to jail except for overnight, and I was blacked out. I don't remember it. Yeah. This is the first time I have to actually face it. So I go, and I last about 2 days before I try to hang myself because I'm like, no, I tap out. Like, I can't imagine my life without drugs and alcohol, first of all. I can't imagine feeling this withdrawal to its fullest extent. This is only day 2. And I want to crawl out of my skin. And I remember I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. God, this, there's that. Like, how did this happen? How did we get here? Take me out. I don't want to live. So I remember all these girls screaming and they're banging on the pod door. I'm like, you bitches, shut up. Like, I'm trying to fucking kill myself here. So I'm trying to hang myself in a pod with girls probably freaking out. Like, she's really trying to hang herself in here. And I get immediately pink slipped again. Pickle suit, the whole 9. And then they're like...
The pickle suit. We've heard, we're familiar with the pickle suit.
Oh, yeah. So I get pink slipped again, and they decide drug court is not the place for me. I need mental health help. I'm like, mental health? No.
I'm fine. I just tried to hang myself in jail because I can't get high.
Suicide attempt.
Yeah.
Don't know. Like, where did we get this idea that
it makes total sense at the time? Like, when I'm in that,
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. So I just, I thought, oh, well, fuck, they pulled me down, kind of hazy. They did not care one bit at all. They threw me right in that holding tank where you have to be by yourself in solitary for like, I think it's like 3 days. I'm like, well, this shit is no fun. Like, and I'm dope sick. So I am like a full-blown disgusting human being at this point. Like, it's bad. Finally, like, they come, they give me this like Vivitrol shot, but they gave it to me too early.
Ooh.
So anybody who knows what that's like to be Narcan or whatever, get that shot too early when you still have years and years worth of opiates running through your system. I think I just wanted out of jail so bad that I think I knew when they did the test strip that I wasn't ready, and I said, just do it. I didn't know about precipitated withdrawal at all, but that shit sucked. And then I got out and I was mad. I was in mental health drug court. I didn't want to be there either, and I'm pissed at everybody. I ended up trying to go to some recovery type meetings, but I'm just angry and like, I wasn't there for me. And at this point, I think it's a cult because everybody I knew that was close in my family that had been there is either a fraud or an asshole or a 13-step or just something, like always something like you're a cult. I don't believe it. But there was a couple people where I thought it works for you, but it won't work for me. Not that I ever tried to apply it either. So, again, like, God was real, but not for me. He wasn't there for me. He had forgotten me. So, always excuses, just anger, not wanting to face anything. I couldn't stop though. I wasn't ready. I was still drinking. I was finding ways to fool my probation officer. I got it down where I knew the number that I was calling, what days. But I knew, like, this is serious. They're gonna lock me up. Like, if I, like this, I knew enough to know, like, I gotta find a way around it because I still want to do it. So I'm going to rooms, getting my coins. I'm protesting that I'm this much sober, and then I'm going to a bar doing Jello shots and drinking. And I had met my son's father during this time. He saw me on Facebook, asked me out. I said no. Ew, like, leave me alone. So he found me somewhere at a bar. I'm like, how did you know I was here? Well, you posted on Facebook. I'm like, well, I guess you can stay. And that started another toxic relationship, where, God rest his soul, because I thought, well, I remember thinking at least he won't cheat on me because he'll just feel so lucky to have me. It was that I know I'm not good enough, but there's that ego of I'm still better than this or that, of, it's a weird blend of ego and no self-esteem. So I just thought, well, okay, cool. You're there and you'll be grateful. So I'm still in drug court, mental health court, and I'm still at a bar during the day and at night, still shutting it down. I end up pregnant, and I still hadn't admitted I was an alcoholic of any kind. Drugs were my kind of problem, but the only problem was your problem with it, not mine. It wasn't me that had a problem. It was even all the withdrawals and prescriptions and everything. Like, they kept telling me that I had to stop, and I'm like, but you can't make me, it's a prescription. Like, I had valid reasons to take those benzos, even though they were making me psychotic. So I meet him, I end up pregnant, and they hadn't caught me drinking yet, but he was in the rooms. Somehow I found out what his drug of choice was prior. Next thing you know, we're both using, and we had met sober. He was sober, I was pretending to be sober, but I remember the look on his face when we went to a recovery meeting and I stood up and said whatever I said time I had sober, and he just kind of looked at me like, damn, she's good. Like, she said that with a straight ass face. Like, I just saw her slamming shots last night, and I'm like, yeah, I got 5 months. Okay. Yeah. Anyway, so it goes to the relapse. Eventually, you're going to do what you really want to do. Like, I know that I'm not done. I was never done. I just needed to find a way to do it. And at this point, it was the fuck it's. Oh, well, what are they going to do? Catch me if you can attitude type stuff. Like, I didn't really want to be caught, but I didn't want to do this anymore. Like, you're making me do this counseling. You're making me do this, and I don't want to. I want you to leave me alone. So I go and we do right back where I started. It was like I never stopped, because I had really stopped doing the heroin, but I didn't want to. And it was only for a couple months. But even then, I did not think about how dangerous that could have been. And it was instantaneous, right back where I started. I think I was careful the first time, but it was immediately downhill from there. And then drop dirty the first time, get put in jail a week. Swear it off, I won't do it again. That was just, I needed to get it out of my system, I needed to make sure I was done. No, the second time was probably, and that was just the second time they caught me by chance of slipping on those drug tests. I think I spent maybe 3 weeks, but it happened about 15 more times that I dropped dirty, and they were just like, oh my God, like,
They let you drop dirty 15
I had
times
been to
before
jail.
locking you up?
Oh, no, I had been to jail. Each time was
Okay.
longer and longer.
Oh,
okay.
sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
so like the first time was like a week, and
Yeah.
then she's
And then 2
like,
weeks,
yeah.
and then a
Yeah.
month. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Got you.
I'm still like in jail, like, man, this sucks, but like, whatever. Like, I knew it wasn't freaking cute at all. Like, I'm not going to don't braid my hair. I'm not going to braid your hair. I don't want to learn how to play cards. Like, I don't ever want to get used to this, ever. Like, I just knew, like, okay, I might not be, like, too good, but I feel like I knew even then, like, this is not for me. Like, this is not where I belong. Why am I torturing myself? Why do I keep doing this? But it was always those wheels turning, like, why am I the way that I am? Why am I so broken? So, the time that I was pregnant and I went to my probation officer and I was crying. And I remember specifically what I said to her. I can't stop. But, you know, my son deserves a chance. I said to her in the exact words, I don't care what you do with me, save my son. So she threw me in jail. And that's okay. I don't think without that, I know I would not have stopped without that. I had already started injecting heroin again, and I was pregnant. And I had to live with that guilt for a long, long, long time. I still sometimes do. I won't lie about that. That's a hard one. They locked me up until about, they revoked my probation. I got my wish there. You don't need to be on probation. You need to be in jail or a program. So, like, the messed up part is, like, I knew I wasn't done still. I knew it because my wheels were turning. I wonder if they'll give me Vicodin when I have my son. Like, just little things. Like, I wonder if I'll get pain medicine for this. Like, I had also burned myself really badly when I was overdosed another time. I had burned myself pretty badly. So I have had this scar, and when I got pregnant, it got way worse, and it's right in my underarm. I won't get into that, but it's like, how did that happen? I was completely half dead. I don't know how that I didn't know I was having third-degree burns happening to me. So, ouch, it hurt. And then it started to get keloid, which is dangerous. It's an infected scar that never healed. So as I was pregnant, I knew I had to have surgery eventually. After they sentenced me to rehab, I'm like, I knew I wasn't done because I'm setting up a surgery for when I graduate rehab because I know they'll at least give me something. I had put that surgery off for years, but I needed some kind of reason to do that and feel good about it. Like, all right, well, it didn't take long that I'm pushing my stroller over to where I know I can get what I need. My son's dad wasn't really in the picture. We eventually became like friends, using buddies. I think I loved him like eventually like as a person and as a fellow addict. I had love for him as a person and as the father of my son, but we were bad for each other. We were toxic. We were only were using buddies here and there. And like, but I still wanted that control. I still had that jealousy. I still, he had cheated on me 1,000,000 times. And by then I knew like, I'm not okay with that. Like, I'm just not going to put up with that. Like, no matter what, I know I don't deserve that. So he's out, not in the picture, coming back around in and out of programs himself. And I think this was one of the times he was in a program, and I don't think I could feel so guilty about it. And snuck over to my sister's house, where she was about the only person I really used with, and him. Mostly I was alone. Every time I overdosed, I was alone, and that's how I know I've had a higher power. Another way I know I've had a higher power, because somehow, and I was always mad when I woke up, like, are you freaking kidding me? I just did like a whole gram, like, in one thing, like, what is happening? But I knew I was off probation. They had graduated me. I had my baby born healthy, nothing wrong with him. He was perfect. But I still remembered that voice of that boyfriend. I'm afraid to have kids with you. I'm afraid. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I just didn't think I deserved to be a mom. I was scared. I didn't know how to be a mom. I had just been forced to be sober for the past 6 months, and I didn't want to be. And I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't have money. I didn't have savings. I didn't have education. I didn't have my son's father. I didn't have any of those things that I thought was normal that you're supposed to have. Like, so I'm walking over to my sister's, and she's like, I knew it. Come in. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of like disappointed. Like, I wanted her to say no, but I was glad she didn't, because I went in, and next thing you know, that's it. Like, every time it gets worse and worse. You know, it started with being able to control it. It always does. Eventually it was out of control. And, you know, just those feelings of inadequacy were building up. You know, I love my son with all my heart. I didn't love me at all. I'm doing things to myself that I still process today. I'm allowing things to happen to not be sick that I know I'm not okay with. So I have to drink or use to cover that up. And didn't take long for consequences to build up or more ways to get money to build up. I think I took my mom's credit card or checkbook or something, and I wrote a check. She had been sending me to the bank for something, and I decided to write myself a check 8 different occasions. So I don't know how, but it was another enable moment when I found out she dropped the charges. I think I probably convinced her to feel sorry for me one more time. But I also remember, like, that feeling of, like, the paddy wagon shutting and that, damn, what is wrong with me? Why can't I stop? Why can't I stop? Why did I just steal from my own mother, who probably would have gave it to me if I asked? But I was ashamed to ask or something, whatever the case. And not only that, but now I'm so fucking selfish. I see my stepmom walking away with my 2-year-old baby, who, how the fuck did he get 2 years old, by the way? Where did that go? Mm-hmm. And I'm a mess again, pale, black eyes, and I'm in the back of a paddy wagon. How did we get here? What is wrong with me? What the fuck is wrong with me? Still angry, though. Nothing really changed. She dropped the charges. I got out and kept right going. And then I bullied my parents into letting me come. Even though Children's Services got involved with it, I said, take my son so I don't fucking destroy his life. Like, take custody of him. And then I kind of went with the whole feel sorry for myself thing for a long time. I moved back in with my mom after she had just let me get off of these charges or whatever. I moved back in with her and take her hostage again. And next thing you know, I'm up in her attic full time, and I leave my son over with my parents to avoid Children's Services, really, but also because at the time I was like, well, they'll be all right, because, you know, they never wanted me to be parents anyway. But I always had somebody else to blame. Always. It was never my fault. It was never the actions that I did. It was never me. It was always someone else's fault. Poor me. It was the abuser's fault. Something. It was the system. It was you, not me. So I laid up in my mom's attic for another couple years, watching the world go by until eventually, you know, she got worse. She has Huntington's disease. And I convinced myself I was taking care of her. I wasn't. I tried. I didn't have the capability. Her mental health declined really badly, and the bills were falling off, and of course I wasn't pitching in. Eventually she does something where the verbal abuse picked back up from her, and toxic behaviors both ways. She had flicked a cigarette at my face. It stuck to my face and burned me. And there had already been an instance where she, like, flung a hanger, and it had just missed my son. Had him over for a visit, and it went right over his head. So she went to a nursing home after that, and I just stayed in her house. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I don't have mortgage. What am I doing? Like it's just gonna pay itself. And I'm like, not with it. I'm not on this planet with everybody else. I'm like, who wants to live like that? I don't know, but I did. And next thing you know, a man comes saying he bought the house, and now I'm mad at him. Like, how the fuck did you get that? What are you talking about? This is my house. Never been my house. And I'm angry at this man because he bought a house at auction that was supposed to be mine. How dare you? Delusional. So I'm homeless. Luckily, at the time, I had a vehicle. And I don't know what I thought I was going to do, but, like, my mom actually had another apartment down the road, and I went and moved in there, and I just stayed there. And I knew I wasn't supposed to be there. I'm like hiding again in a basement apartment and finding any way I can to still get high. And during the midst of this, I don't know how I met another toxic person. I'm not really seeing my son. I'm having to ask permission to see him. And, you know, I know that hurts. Like, I'm crying. I'm bawling my eyes out. Imagine what he's going through. Also, I did not mention that before we lost the house, that my son's father overdosed in front of me and died in my bedroom. And
So then you're all the son's God, but then you're still ripping and running.
I'm nothing to him at this
So
point.
what leads you up to ultimately getting sober? Like, what's the final?
Oh, yes. So after all that happened, I had like hit so many what I thought were bottoms, where I'm like, what the? How's that not enough? Like losing my son, losing my freedom over and over again, almost losing my life. I keep hearing in these rooms all these rock bottoms, and I'm like, how much worse does it get? Like, my rock bottom has a trap door, as they say. Like, I don't know how many times I can hit the floor and just somehow keep going. It was truly random. It was so random that I was in another person's house again. I had ran out of places to go, and this girl was not an addict, but she did enable me. She let me stay in her house. And I hated her for that too. Like, I don't know what I hated everybody for, but I'm in her house for probably like a year, the last year of my youth. Like, she said I could stay for like a couple days. I never left. This poor girl.
A couple days is 365.
Yeah,
right.
that's, to me, absolutely. In my sickness, absolutely. Because if you're not doing something for me and I'm in my addiction, stay away from me. I somehow had a vehicle, and all I did was find my ways to get money and go back. And even though she wasn't an addict or an alcoholic, I would sit right at her kitchen table and just use and use and use. And I'm still getting the benzos, mixing that with alcohol. There's a carryout. I'm getting like the highest content of alcohol I can get, the highest quality of drugs I can get, like the most potent thing, which is now fentanyl.
Hey, Mental Defectives.
Would you like to advertise on our podcast?
If so, email us at mentaldefectivespodcast@gmail.com.
So we can help you make a lot of money.
A whole lot of money.
At this point, you know, I was an addict during the time it transitioned to fentanyl. And I remember seeing a dealer, and he said, this one don't have fentanyl in it. And I remember saying, can I pay extra and get fentanyl? And he looked at me like I was fucking bananas. Because I was. I'm like, well, then I'll take the one that's deadlier, please. And I just, I don't know. Sitting at her kitchen table, I remember, like, I hated this woman for whatever reason. I have my reasons that we don't have time for, but I remember thinking, how funny would it be if I died and she had to find me, like, and I would leave notes like, don't resuscitate, things like that. Like, I was a psycho. And I would, like, have blood everywhere, vomit. Like, I'd wake up on her floor in my own vomit, like, face down, and I'd be swollen, and I'd have poke marks all over me. And, I mean, it was probably a horror scene to the point where she stopped coming home. She stopped coming home because I slammed her against a wall, and I wouldn't stop using drugs in her house. But she wanted me to do something in order to keep staying there that kind of brought back those memories of Florida with the one woman where I was like, if you ever bring that up again, like, I will put your head through this wall. So I had already shamed myself so many times. I had already done, like, so many things, and it's a normal day. I'm sitting at the kitchen table, waking up for the umpteenth time, not dead, surrounded by everything I need to keep going. I had a little money. I had a liquor store. I had my pills. I had my substances all around me. And I'm like, damn, I'm fully fucking alone. I'm alone. Who the fuck? I'm about to be 40. And I just remember like that question, what's wrong with me? And it just has always been there. That I genuinely wanted to fucking know. Like, what's behind this? Like, and I just said, God dang, like, what is happening? Like, if you have a purpose for me, I need to know now, today, or let me die. Like, just let me die. I don't see my son. I say I'm coming, I don't come. He cries. He's getting older. He's almost 8. And I don't know what I'm pretending that I'm this great mother in my head. I know I'm not. I've dealt with the guilt of using drugs with his father who died. Like, why him and not me? Like, I should have died too. We both should have died. We used the same thing. How did this happen? And I didn't know why. So I'm sitting there, like I said, at this table, everything I need to keep going, and I was fucking miserable. I'm like, damn, like, this is not how this was supposed to turn out. I don't know what I thought, but I think back to being that little girl that just needed an outside solution. And I thought, okay, I might need some fucking help here. Like, I'm just the last one to see it. But I don't have, and nobody's talking to me. And if they do, they're calling to see if I died. Can you please let me know you're alive? And all the while in the back of my mind, I'm convinced nobody cares. I have these legal consequences that I'm running from. Like, I probably have warrants. I know I do. I probably think I had like 3 at the time. And I'm like living in fear of going through that withdrawal in jail again for felony drug possession. And I'm like, dude, like, what is going on? I just sat there. I called my best friend who I hadn't heard from, spoke to in a long time. We reconnected, and I just remember crying, like, I need help. And I decided, okay, like, I think I need to go to treatment. And I'm like, all right, well, what's that look like? I guess I got to make some calls. I remembered this one place I had been to that I AMA'd from a long time ago. And I called them. And I don't know what made me think of this place, but it's pretty badass, like, how God works. It's just amazing. Like, I end up there, and I'm bloated from alcohol. I'm a mess. I've got nothing but a laundry basket full of things that it's my only possessions is what's on me at the time. And I'm broken. And I say, okay, I guess I need help. But not yet. And I go next to the hotel and I get high again. And then I wanted everything my fucking way. My way. And my recovery had to look like what Rachel thought it should look like. So I went next to the hotel and probably tried to die one more time and thought, okay, it's not working. I went in and it was miserable. You know, I don't know what I thought it would be like withdrawing for the millionth time. I just was like, all right, I'll agree to detox. I was one of those, like, I can do it after that. Like, I'll go here, I'll go there. Me. I know what's best for me because I didn't think anybody cared or knew. I don't know what I was thinking, but I tried to plan everything. And then I found fault with everything wrong in the facility or you. I didn't focus on myself. I was too sick. So I get in there, 8 days goes by, and then they come around to do like random urine tests, and I see, the benzos are out of my system. And I dip out the front door. I'm good. That was my problem. The benzos. So I'm still dope sick because I've been doing fentanyl for years. I'm still dope sick. So I remember sitting on that laundry basket out there looking around like, holy shit. I just walked out of an opportunity, and now they're saying I can't come back in. Once you AMA, you can't go back in for a while. Like, you can't just be like, just kidding, I had a moment. they give you that moment before they do your paperwork, by the way.
Yeah.
They give you time to think about it. And I was not hearing it. So I had nothing but time to think about what was truly a priority, what was wrong with me, and was I really willing to surrender? Was I really willing to admit I am an alcoholic, I am a drug addict, and that I needed help? That I could not do shit, I don't know shit, I don't know what's wrong with me. So I had to, like, go and stay places until I could get back in. And I, like, used the bare minimum to be comfortable because I remember thinking, like, I don't want my withdrawal to be that bad. I want it to be my last. And I'm like somehow, like, the light's coming on. I spent the, like, better part of 2 weeks with my best friend, reconnecting with her. And they finally called and said I could go back in. And I just fucking sat down and shut up. Like, it sucked. But I surrendered from that day on. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what happened. And I know it's not going to be the same for everybody. But something came on. And I don't know why every other time it didn't. But it did this time. And I don't question it. I ran with it. I'm like, all right, like, somehow he's removed this obsession from me, my higher power. Like, and I just started, like, asking questions from therapists. And not only that, but I feel like there was, like, a little girl inside of me. She was so broken. She needed one person to care. Like, and I really think, like, I needed one other person because I didn't. And I didn't. And I didn't think anybody else did. Like, I knew my best friend did, but, like, I think everybody else had kind of thought I was going to die and gave up on me. And there was a therapist there that kind of showed a genuine interest in helping me, but really challenged me to do deep work, like inner work, challenged me to show up. And instead of poor me, like, these assignments he would give and all the stuff he said, he knew what he was talking about. Like, he knew why why we are the way we are. I needed that fucking answer so bad. And he had, like, scientific facts, like, evidence-based facts on, oh my God, it's not just me at all. I'm not alone. I don't have to do this alone. I can stop pushing people away. I can let somebody care about me. I can let somebody else help me. And I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So maybe I should sit here and let somebody else help me figure it out. And, like, I totally had forgot about all these legal things in the background because I was so focused on I want to heal. I hadn't looked in the mirror for probably over a year. And that was one of my first assignments, to go look in the mirror, and it took a while. I had put my fist through some mirrors before that. Like, I didn't even want to see myself. I was, like, so dead inside. Like, I remember, like, my bedroom had a mirror, and I, like, every time I would dart to the toilet room, and I would kind of be like this. But I started waking up in rehab and slowly doing, like, hey, like, look at myself. Like, oh, okay, I'm not as pale today. I don't feel as shitty today. So then I started putting stickers on the mirror, like, positive affirmations, and, like, talked to my best friend after the 7-day block. And she's like, I want you to say, like, I deserve to heal. And I was like, no. Like, I couldn't even say anything nice about myself. But when I said it, I don't know what, something clicked. Like, I deserve to heal. Oh shit, I do. Oh my God. Enough is enough. Like, damn, am I really gonna suffer for, like, continue to suffer? No. So it was a 28-day program, and I decided that's not very long. And, also I used to think back when I was in 2013, trying to sentence me to a program that was a year long, that's too long. I got shit to do. I had nothing to do, but I wanted to control everything, or I was afraid of the unknown, or just whatever the case may be. I wasn't done, is basically it. I had nothing but excuses, but I felt like this time I was truly done, and I knew it. And I wanted to get to the bottom of why I was the way I was, and why have I used drugs and alcohol to feel anything for so long. And I needed that answer. And I started to look for it in everything. And I screamed out, I deserve to heal. I deserve recovery. And then I noticed this place hires people that used to be patients there. And one of the therapists said, you could work here one day. And I remember thinking, yeah, right, whatever. Like, he says that to everybody. He's just saying that, so I'll go to group or whatever. But I remember thinking in bed that night, why not you? Why not you? What? Stop it. Like, yeah, you. Like, heal. Let's heal. And I started doing inner work, deep work. Like, every assignment they gave me, I put my all into it. Inner child work, timelines, everything that they, that I didn't know about that was there and available to me. I put it and I used it and I read all the packets and I did all the work and it got easier. And I started building new habits. Like 28 days is not a long time. Okay, what do I know about myself? I'm irresponsible. I oversleep. I have issues with procrastination. I do all these things. I can work on that right now. Scientific facts show it takes about 28 days to build a new habit. So let's start with something small, like making your bed every day. And if you do that, like, maybe it'll stick. Who knows? But it's little things. So I went to group sick, very sick. When I went back in and said, all right, I'm going to sit down and shut up because I don't know what I'm doing. And I did. I went to group every day. I listened. And then I found out, oh God, it's been like 13 days and I'm getting happier. Like, oh, I know what a pink cloud is, but I can use it to my advantage. I know it won't last, but I can use this to help myself and continue doing that. And then they told me, hey, are you going to PHP? I don't know. What's PHP? Oh, and they explained it to me and I say, what do you think I should do? I think you have trauma. I think you need to go. Okay, I'll go. I got nowhere to be. Like, I can't really, I was still afraid to be my son's mom. I was afraid. I was still full of shame for certain things. I didn't think my parents wanted me around. I had all these preconceived notions about what I thought or didn't think. So I went to PHP, and that's when another angel of a therapist asked the question, if drugs and alcohol are the solution, what was the question? And when did the question become a problem? And I look back when I was 10 years old to that Zima, that was a problem that I thought, that little girl thought that she wasn't good enough and that nobody loved her and that she needed some substance to make her a beautiful, a lovable anything, but what she was. And then I just started doing the deeper work there, and it just became beautiful. Like, the more I wanted to know, the more I wanted to heal and learn. And I'm so grateful to that place because I didn't know what I would do after that, and they recommended I go to sober living. I did, and I didn't ask which one. I didn't pick. I didn't say, oh, thank you. So I didn't say anything about what my preferences were. The only preference I had was I don't want anybody to hold my hand or enable me. Like, I need to be able to get my shit together because I've leaned on others for so long. Nothing I have is mine. I didn't work for anything. And I want to be a woman that I can be proud of. I want to work for something and take pride in something. I had dropped out of school when I didn't know anything. I knew eventually I wanted to go back, get my GED or something. So I let them pick a sober living, and I went, and I thought, it doesn't matter. Like, there's problems everywhere. You hear about it all the time. I'm gonna, use this as fuel to never come back. Like, okay, cool. Like, this is why, like, I will have to go after the things I want to happen. So making phone calls to get things on track and to find out, what do I need to do to take care of my legal troubles? Hey, how can I fix this? I knew I was facing, like, some issues legally, but that wasn't why I got fucking sober this time. Like, it wasn't even in my mind. Like, it was for me
finally, it was for me. It wasn't because my son, it wasn't because my dad or my mom or probation or anybody else. It was because I was so fucking done feeling that way. And from that day at that kitchen table, I haven't, by the grace of God, had any desire to pick up a drink or a drug. But I know that that only happens by doing the things I do on a daily basis. That only came and stays the way it is with the continued work that I do. Like, I didn't know it felt so good to help someone else. I really didn't. That feeling when you see the light come on in someone else's eyes, when you can give someone else hope that if I can stop, yes, you can too. That you're not terminally unique, things that you think you are, like, and no, you deserve recovery, absolutely. And I do deserve to be loved. I do deserve somebody who can love me publicly. I don't deserve to be used. I don't deserve to be spit on. I don't deserve to be peed on. I don't deserve any of that. That was his problem. He was a sick man. And I'm sorry, I like doing the inner work to heal those things was extremely beneficial. And not only that, but to let go and say, you know what, I forgive you. And if I picture that he's still alive and say, I forgive you, and I can picture him saying he's not sorry, and I say, that's okay. Because it's for me, it's not for you. I hope you heal. And that's what I'd say to people who hurt me today. I hope you heal. It's not me. I don't have to internalize it anymore. If someone doesn't like me anymore, that's too bad, because I'm funny. I'm pretty awesome. Like, I'm a good friend. And I would probably give you the shirt off my back. So if someone doesn't like me, that's their problem. And it's none of my business what people think of me. I don't need to internalize that anymore. So getting a sponsor immediately, continuing on the journey of inner work. Like, I knew, all right, whatever my preconceived notions on these programs are, let it go. Because this is my damn life. I need a solution other than what I've used. So I need to let it go. Whatever happened in the past is not today. Let it go and find my own people. Like, my dad's been in these rooms for 40 years now. I wanted to go places where I wasn't so-and-so's daughter. So that's what I did. I mean, and then eventually I can branch out. But, like, people would see me and they'd say, oh my God, I thought you were dead. And I'm like, and
surprise!
Right. Nope. And it's amazing because nobody thought I would make it. That's okay. I didn't think I would make it. But I did. And to go from where I was to where I am now, I can't brag enough about my love for recovery because it's, oh my God, it's amazing. I want to just touch on it a little bit. I know we ran over a lot, but all those little things that people bitch about in these treatment centers, they're there for a reason. To save your fucking life. And if you can't follow a few simple rules in treatment, good luck in the real world.
Yeah, I know that's
I don't get
right.
to go to work and say,
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing that today. Don't tell me what to do.
You can if you don't want to have a job anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, or my probation officer, oh, that's fucking stupid. That's not how the real world works. I do work at that treatment center today. The one that I said, why not me? I work there.
Hell yeah.
I'm in high school. I'm a 42-year-old high school student. I said, you know what? That girl that was 17, 16, she didn't know what she was doing. Forgive her. Start over. You're not stupid. I get all A's now.
Hell yeah.
I don't worry about failing. I worry about learning. Like, I'm going to fail. Like, that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to be great. You don't have to know everything. And if you don't know, ask. And it's okay to not know that. Like, learn it. Ask somebody. Be teachable. Be able to see both sides. And if one person doesn't care, there's someone else that does. Like, in so many aspects of my life, I truly try to hang around people that are doing the next right thing, that are walking the walk. So I've changed sponsors until I finally have a good one that I'm comfortable with. It's not so bad that she's a badass, beautiful woman that has like silver houses and cars, but she actually like does good. She walks the walk. She doesn't talk about it. She's not all show. She actually does good deeds. And I thought, not only that, she doesn't pick up no matter what. She has freedom from addiction. So I tell people, when you're looking for a sponsor, you don't look at the cars and the motorcycles and that's great. But what happens when they lose somebody? Are they going to go drink over it? Are they spiritually fit? Do they do they do the things they say? Are they really looking out for your best interest? So I've dropped 2 sponsors just because I'm like, I realize it's not a fit. Like, I'm friends with them today. It was more of a friend thing. Like, okay, I felt bad in the beginning. Like, I don't have to. This is my life. This is life or death. I'm not going to feel bad. This is my recovery. And they're fine with it. I just can't brag enough. Like, I feel like I know if I can get sober and stay sober, anybody can. And I like to be in the club of no matter what club, that we don't pick up over anything. Over anything. It doesn't matter. Life is going to throw all kinds of curveballs. And I have the tools today. I'm not a weak person anymore. But when I need to be vulnerable, I can be vulnerable. It doesn't mean I'm weak. It doesn't mean I'm stupid. It doesn't mean anything. I'm just human. I've made mistakes. I have a lot of work to do. I have a lot of healing to do still. But I continue to learn about myself and helping other people. And I talk openly when I'm at a podium. I talk about cutting. I talk about eating disorders. I talk about abuse because it might save someone else. Mm-hmm. And if that means I don't have to do anything, but I choose to. Because I take my power back every time I do. Every time I say I'm worth it, I know I mean it. Like, I'm worth everything. I worked really hard for everything I have. I was able to buy a newer car last week, and someone else was congratulating me. I said, oh, I'm not referring to the material aspect. The freedom that I was able to get my license back after 7+ years of not having one and coming this close to being revoked, and by the skin of my teeth. And yeah, it was hard. I had to do some things. I had to take action. But the freedom to be able to go get in my vehicle whenever I want and go to work and then come home to my son. And all these things in the end happened when I came home from sober living. All these things happened. That's how I know they weren't me. I didn't plan them. I thought I didn't want them, or I thought I didn't need them. Like, yeah, I kind of want that, but I don't think I need that. And then God showed me different. And I also didn't think I was ready to be my son's mother. And I was scared shitless. I had no idea what he'd been through. So I kind of got thrown into a position where I had to move home. And I was scared. I'm like, oh, no, I really have no choice. And God has shown me, like, I've worried for nothing. Let my son tell it. I'm the best mom in the world. He tells me every day that he forgives me. He comes to these meetings with me. And I talk openly about mommy's medicine because I realize he's seen more than I realized he saw. He's been affected more than I wanted to admit. But he's healing with me. And he's doing amazing. And he's so forgiving and sweet. And children are resilient. But I knew that was something like I had to be patient with because it's been a long journey. He was very angry when I came home. Very angry. And I thought, oh, is he going to be like this forever? Like, he's great. He's really great. And we have amazing times together. I've met an amazing person, my boyfriend, who I tried to pray out of my life because I didn't. I thought if I wanted it even a little bit, it wasn't for me because I'm like, oh, he's going to be an asshole or he's going to use something. I'm like, if I even kind of like him, there's a red flag if I like him. So I tried to push it away and forget about it. And then all these things just kept happening where God was like, bitch, calm down. That's your man. That's who I picked for you. And it's just like evident every time. Like, and I know because I didn't want it. I tried to wish it away. Everything I thought I didn't need, I have. And everything I thought I wanted, I don't need it. I don't need it. I love like the journey I'm on. I love being able to hear somebody when I'm at work to say, you give me hope. Or I stayed because of something you said. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, damn, you know, that's awesome. Or to sponsor a woman who says that I helped her by being open about my eating disorder, that kept her from starving herself that night. I'm okay with that.
Hell yeah.
It's awesome.
Well, Nikki, thank you so much. That's an incredible story. Like touching on so many different things. You've set a mental defectives record there's nothing to jump in on. It was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Just amazing. But last thing, before we started filming, you were telling Jerry that Harley Davidson makes the worst motorcycle known to man, and you wouldn't be caught dead on one. What do you mean by that?
Can't even.
It's the Mental Defectives podcast. It's Milligram, Jerry with a G.
Kind of shit.
Rachel is here. We'll see you next time. Thanks.
Awesome.